transition, I will go to Jean-Marc Jancovici, and we'll give him the floor. And I think he will take stock of what Jaap and Commissioner Renders have been discussing, because maybe I will make him focus on something that is maybe less of the main topic of his let's say, public speaking topics. Although he mentioned in a MIT conference not long ago, you referred to an FT article that was saying that a very limited numbers of boards of Fortune 100 companies in the US, not in Europe, have almost either no credentials or very little credentials on climate and energy. So we are wondering what they are doing on their boards. So I want you to answer this question: how much they need to know about the topic? And I think we heard some elements. And do you think yourself that board members are ready to be those actors of changes, or to be the actors of change? What are your views on that?
If you want to save 10 minutes, the short answer is no.
We need more explanation.
First of all, I apologize for my dress code. It happens that, as you know, we have a lot of home office in France, and so I tend to be in casual dressing all week long. I will briefly recall where I speak from. I happen to be a professor, yes, at MINPARITech, but I also happen to be a consultant. So my usual suspects, I would say, are precisely executives from various corporations, mostly in France, but sometimes abroad. And I chair an NGO which advocates going low carbon, which is the SHIFT project. So I also discuss, because it is financed by companies, with people that are executives from corporations. If I summarize what I'm about to say, I'm going to be very rude. We are nowhere close to the level of knowledge that executives should have, but I could extend that opinion to commissioners. So I go on being very rude. And to, I would say, the decision makers in the commission. Basically, nobody has the basics on the challenge that we are trying to meet. Climate change and energy issues are basically issues relating to physics, not economy. When you hire an executive in a corporations, you expect from that person to have followed long studies in management, learning what it is to deal with people, to deal with figures, to deal with money, etc. Takes a couple of years. The average length of the training that all these people should have on energy and climate change issues is close, because it is something which is fully different. Climate change is not in euros, because, as you probably know, the economic convention makes it so that natural resources are free by definition in prices. You do not have any provisions for amortization in the prices you pay. You don't have provisions for risks. You have nothing. All the models that try to assess the damage done to the environment in monetary terms are all conventional. It's just it's close to a cooking recipe. I mean, it's exactly the same. It's just the opinion you have. So you must learn the grammar. You must learn the notions. You must learn the physics that relate to climate change and energy issues. And this is a long process. I teach 20 hours to my students at MINPARITech, and that is far from being enough. So at least top executives should get 20 hours, at least. But it's a minimum, really a minimum. From what I've seen, so people are nowhere close to where they should be. And besides, regarding the behavior, they are nowhere close either, because it happens that in the world we live in, the item that you want to optimize first is money. And then if there is room for optimizing CO2, you do it. But people do behave that way because the society is organized that way. You don't put people in jail because they emit too much, but you put people in jail if they lie, for example, to the fiscal administration, don't pay their taxes, or crook someone. You never do that for people that emit too much CO2. So it is normal that today corporations, because that's what is asked to them, try to optimize monetary accounting. And then, again, if there is room and time, they optimize CO2 items. Something else that one should realize is that it is not possible to survive to the low carbon transition for any company. We have worked at Carbon 4 with hundreds of clients, performed thousands of missions. We're one of the oldest consulting firm in France, if not the oldest, specialized on climate change issues. We are close to 80 right now, and I've seen nowhere any company optimizing CO2 first and saying now I'll take the room that's left for the economy, whatever it is. I've never seen that, and it will never happen as long as the rules are what they are. Never. And to accept to revert the hierarchy of the criterions that we use, that is CO2 first and then money if there is room left, means that we are ready to accept a structural recession, because that's what it takes if we want to be serious about the 2-degree objective. Green growth is a fairy tale. I can repeat that. It is a fairy tale. You just have to look at physics to realize that it will never happen. Never, ever. Actually, counting the economy in joules or in kilowatt hours or counting it in euros is about the same. You look at the counterpart that you can count either in money or in physical terms of a transformation flow that goes from natural resources to all manufactured goods and services. That's what you look at when you look at the economic system, the productive system. And you can count it in joules, again, in energy units, or you can count it in euros, same thing, or in pounds, or in dollars, whatever, same thing. So, and actually, I'm very happy that the European Environment Agency just issued 3 weeks ago a document saying that green growth doesn't exist. So I will look with great interest the dialogue between 2 European official institutions, the European Environment Agency and the Commission, on that topic. So the reason why, so I will get back to that, the boards have such a low level of knowledge on energy and climate change issues, it is because facing a finite world is something they don't like. Because in the economic theory, there is no limit. Nobody said that once the GDP reaches, I don't know, $12,000 billion, it stops growing. There is nothing such in the economic theory. But you have plenty of absolute limits in physics. And so you can put plenty of limits in the fossil fuel supply, for example, or in the CO2 you can put into the atmosphere before you have a climate change that generates, I would say, massive consequences. So it is very uncomfortable for these people to shift from a system where there is no limit to a system where basically you only address limits. That's one of the reasons. And before being commanded by the superior part of our brains, that is the cortex, we are being commanded by the inferior part of our brains, that is feelings. That's the way we are designed as animals, because human beings are animals. And I think I've taken my 10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your words and your provocative works. So basically, the new mission statements of companies should be to reduce CO2 and not to make profit. So that's really a paradigm shift.
Yes, and among the other things that I could say, I said today, for example, in France, you consider legitimate that a company goes bankrupt because it is not able to contribute to the national health system or retirement system. You see, the system that we have in France, it is basically additional taxes on salaries that pay for pensions and that pays for the health system. And you consider that a company which is not able to pay that goes bankrupt. It is legitimate. Okay, it's not funny, but it is a collective constraint that we accept. I don't understand why, if climate change is such a serious issue, you could not go bankrupt, because you cannot meet the climate change challenge. There is no reason why.
I think that will open quite a lot of questions in the following time. So thank you for. Let me maybe again around the SMEs that sometimes they feel like they don't feel neither equipped nor directly concerned, or they might be not playing the role. So sometimes we lose the ground of SMEs. Any views on that? What the role of the SMEs?
The relevant criteria actually is not is not the size of the company. It is the size of the company relative to the size of the business, and whether you are in a dominant position or not. If you have time on your side, basically you're in a more comfortable position to incorporate such challenges as climate change. If you are a subcontractor of a car manufacturer, basically you're looking at your cash for the next 3 months, and that's basically all you do. So you may be, if you are a supplier employing 5,000 people, a tier 2 supplier of Peugeot or Mercedes, or you want to know at the end of the day is whether you will have, and particularly right now, is what is going to be your cash level for the next 3 months. If you are a 100 people company, but you occupy a niche in which you are the world leader, you can look 30 years ahead. So more than the size, again, it is whether you have the comfort of looking at long-term issues or not. It's much more dependent on your position in the sector and the kind of relationship you have with your clients.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another question, Jean-Marc Jancovici, if you allow me, which is regarding the GDP formula. There is a question we said, can we reorientate GDP formula to develop a sort of environmental value to create a cost into the impact on the environment? So converting environmental value created by company to enable them to erase the economical losses. Is there an economic formula that could be a quick win, sort of?
Yeah, it's a kind of environmental goodwill in a way. We can invent anything. The good question, and I confess, I haven't thought of that one. Is whether it's good? No, but I don't know whether it's going to be to push companies in the good direction. So Joker, I don't know. I mean, it's technically feasible, of course. You just have to decide it. I don't know right now whether it's a good idea to push the companies in the right direction.
Okay. A question to Natasha. Almost the last two questions. One is for Jean-Marc Jancovici, and the last one, if you allow me, Commissioner, will give it to you. Nobody has really reacted to the fact that you mentioned that we have to accept the structural recession. I don't know if this means some things, but people are asking about what about purpose company? So company with a purpose, how do they fit together? And I will be very tempted to ask exactly the same question to Commissioner Renders. Are the response purpose company? So we were joking about can a company can have as the only purpose to reduce the CO2 and still make money? Is this a boutade, or this is something that could be existing?
We like to believe that Carbon 4 is a purpose company.
Okay.
People that we hire are deeply committed. And one of the jokes that I tell them when they come in is that Carbon 4, the main goal of Carbon 4 is to self-dissolve because the problem will be solved. So, and then people will be able to write on their resume that they contributed to save the world. And I have no doubt that they will be hired somewhere else with a very good position.
And beyond Carbon 4, please,
yeah,
in the rest of the world.
As a father, it's my objective. My objective as a father is to dissolve Carbon 4 because it won't be necessary anymore. I'm afraid it's not for tomorrow, but it's my objective. We are a purpose company, and still I have a banker, I have to hold my accounting, etc. And if we do not make a profit, eventually we go bankrupt, even though we are a purpose company. So I am not sure that as long as the rules of accounting and the rules that we play with in the economic world will not change, it is going to change something else than talks and speeches. One of the jokes also that I make very often is that it happens that Carbon 4 has a data branch. We work for the financial sector. In the financial sector, there would be a lot to say on the taxonomy, by the way, but it's not today. But with pleasure, another day. In the financial world, I think that the people that earned the most money with green finance is people that organize events where people come and say that the finance is going to become green. So it's words. I mean, but when you look at what happens in the real world, in day-to-day business, nothing has changed, or so little. So we should beware of words and look at facts. That's one of the things which should be included into training. And when notions are not normative, like green, responsible, sustainable, whatever, 99 times out of 100, you're sure that it's greenwashing. So one of the good ways to detect greenwashing is when non-normative notions are used. You never miss.
Okay. So I think Jean-Marc Jancovici is putting it very, very easy, Commissioner Renders, for you to respond to the same question.